This is the OU Weekly Matchup Show. You know, when it comes to Big 12 football dominance, the Oklahoma Sooners, simply put, they stand alone. No team in the conference has won more Big 12 championships than the Sooners. Simply put, they've won 6 of the 13 Big 12 titles, including the last 3. But for the Sooners to make it a four-peat, first of all, they have to play better than what we've seen so far. Getting healthier also wouldn't hurt Oklahoma's cause, plus an upset win against Texas on October 17th would really do wonders. But before the Sooners can even think about those guys from Austin, they first of all have to think about another Central Texas squad, and that's the guys from Waco, a team that Oklahoma has simply put been their daddy. We're talking about the Baylor Bears. Oklahoma, yeah, that lifetime record tells it all. The Sooners have never lost to Baylor, either pre-Big 12 or existing Big 12, and it's not expected to happen again. We're talking about the Saturday's matchup at Gaylord Memorial Stadium in Norman, 2:30 Oklahoma kickoff time. The game will be televised, by the way, regionally on ABC, and if you don't live in the Big 12 area, you can always get the game on ESPN360.com. I recommend you check out that website because you can watch a smorgasbord of college football games free and live, and also archived. Can't beat that. Before we get into the guts of OU-Baylor, I want to talk a little bit about Sam Bradford and something stunning that I heard Tuesday at the press conference, and that is surgery. Now, I didn't think that surgery was a possibility for Sam Bradford, but what we heard earlier in the week, it's not out of the question that at the end of the season, Sam Bradford could be having surgery on that shoulder he hurt against BYU. And if that is the case, that's really too bad, because that surgery, if it happens, could jeopardize Bradford's draft status. Could cost him millions of dollars in the pros. He may not be the overall #1 pick in the draft, which in my opinion he would have been had he come out this season. But it was a risk he took, and really you hate to hear about bad things happening to terrific people. Wish Sam all the best of luck. Hopefully things will work out. And again, we don't know if he's going to have surgery or not at the end of the year, but we did hear that it is not ruled out. I thought initially all he needed was just good old-fashioned rest. That was what we were led to believe. But as you know, sometimes injuries are more serious than anybody can realize, and that might be the case for Bradford. Don't know if he's going to play this week. Again, it's all about how the shoulder feels after throwing, if there is soreness, how long the soreness lasts, and how severe is the soreness. Is it just pain that's too intolerable after throwing? Again, these are questions brought up, but answers that we don't know. And we're broadcasting this show today on Wednesday, October 7th, so we still don't know Sam Bradford's status. Him or Landry Jones will be starting against Baylor. And also Baylor, they have a quarterback issue as well, because they don't know who they're going to start this week. They'll either go with the senior Blake Zamansky, who did not play against Kent State last week, or will they go with Nick Florence, the freshman who did play and did a nice job in Baylor's win over the Golden Flashes of Kent State. It looks like Jay Finley, the leading rusher from Baylor this year and from a year ago, he didn't play last week. He was held out precautionary. He could have played against Kent State, but Coach Briles held him out. Ankle injury. Looks like Finley will play this week, though, against the Sooners, and Oklahoma will definitely have to be on the lookout for him. Baylor, do not think that they won't have anything to play for this Saturday. Remember, Baylor has never gone to a bowl game since they joined the Big 12 since its inception 13 years ago. 0 for 13 now as far as the bowl drought for the Bears. They've already won 3 games this year. Granted, it's been against inferior competition. I mean, Kent State, Northwestern State, and Wake Forest. Those victories don't exactly make your mouth water. Their only loss came to an unranked Connecticut squad. Baylor needs 3 more wins to get to bowl eligibility. They'll play Iowa State later this year. They'll play A&M. Those are the only 2 games in which you would probably think that Baylor has a good chance to win. The other 6 games, teams like Nebraska, Texas, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech, yeah, it's going to be a tall order for Baylor to win any of those other remaining games. So again, if the Bears can pull off an upset and then beat those other 2 teams I'm talking about, then they will make school history. So again, don't think Baylor won't come in fired up and ready to play football. I don't know if it'll be enough, because simply put, Oklahoma, even though they've got the injury problem, still has more talent than Baylor, and plus the game's in Norman, and Oklahoma just doesn't lose at Gaylord Memorial. Let's go ahead and talk about the 4 keys to the game. Number 1, continue to win the turnover battle. I know Oklahoma's turnover that they had last week in the third quarter when Jones had the ball basically knocked out of his possession after getting hit unexpectedly in the pocket led to an instant Miami touchdown. That turnover hurt, but it was the only turnover OU had in the game. Look, I think the only way Baylor wins this game is if Oklahoma just goes on a turnover frenzy, not holding on to the ball, and whoever the quarterback is, Jones or Bradford, not throwing the ball where it needs to be. Baylor, to me, that's the only way they're going to win this game is if Oklahoma turns the ball over and gives the Bears a short field. So Oklahoma, don't hurt yourself, protect the ball. Number two, enough with the penalties. And I know that Miami had a lot of penalty yardage last week too, but Oklahoma's nature and timing of their penalties really came back to haunt them big time because they had two penalties, I remember, on two different possessions, both in Miami territory. One at the Miami 35, in which it went from 2nd and 1 to 2nd and 11. Oklahoma couldn't recover after that. And then in the third quarter, trying to retake the lead after falling behind, they got inside the Miami 40, got called for a leg whip penalty, which seriously backed the Sooners up. 2 plays later, Oklahoma gets called for another penalty, and then sportsmanlike conduct. So it was a comedy of penalty errors and the nature and the timing of them, in which in the 1-point loss could have meant the game if Oklahoma had just played more discipline. So, need to get back to playing disciplined football. Number 3, run baby run. Oklahoma had less than 4 yards per carry last week in the loss to the Hurricanes, and that's despite a 45-yard run by Chris Brown. You take that run out of the equation, and that run per carry average drops even more. Oklahoma cannot rely on winning games this year, and they can't rely on a terrific passing attack if they're averaging less than 4 yards a carry, especially with Brown and Murray. So offensive line, especially the right side, wake up. Time to get back to playing terrific football. Has to start this Saturday against Baylor. And finally, you better have it covered. We're talking about the OU secondary, which had coverage breakdowns last week. I know it drove Bob Stoops crazy, and plus they didn't tackle very well either. Do a little bit better job, in particular in the middle part of the field where Miami kept hurting Oklahoma over and over again. This has to be the first step, and OU has a golden opportunity because Baylor is 73rd in the country in pass offense, just barely over 200 yards a game. Look for Oklahoma to get their swagger back on defense, and they'll need it because the matchup they have against Texas next week is going to be obviously significantly tougher, but you have to get the confidence back this week against Baylor at home in the Big 12 opener. Finally, the matchup. Look, I admit Baylor is getting better. They're no longer the doormats of the Big 12. Iowa State now owns that trademark. But the Bears just simply don't have the talent that Texas, Oklahoma, or even Oklahoma State has. They're still on the way up, but it's still a work in progress. Unless Oklahoma just completely plays like junk and turns the ball over like crazy, I don't expect Oklahoma to have much difficulty in this game. I go 38-14, OU to win the Big 12 Conference opener for the two squads, as the Sooners should win this game and get ready for the Cotton Bowl on October 17th when they have to face, those guys from Austin who happen to be pretty darn good. But can't worry about Texas until next week. Take care of Baylor this week.